how do you harmonize this with an outlook of evolution which says that everything was totally unguided and random?
I don't see any issue with it, honestly. I mean,
So it's just is the way it is.
I will always say that I'll take harsh reality over pretty fantasy.
How are you harmonizing when we see patterns which have an exact fine tuning to them when your outlook on the universe is that it is random chance and unguided? How do you harmonize those two realities?
Just evolution in action, man. Like it just is what it is. It's like evolution led birds to build nests and ants to dig underground, and humans to make buildings where they can live in and make air conditioning and heat,
Okay,
so they can survive in these places. I don't know. It just seems, I'm not sure I can 100% explain how it came about.
sure. And so what I'm getting at is how, on an evolutionary worldview, can you be absolutely certain that the future will be like the past?
I don't think I could ever be absolutely certain like that at all. I mean, things could always change. The Earth, it's flying around out there in physics. It goes around one planet and whoop right towards us. And and physics did that because that's the way gravity works.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason why it would happen. Technically, I could tell you honestly, I am not 100% certain that tomorrow gravity will happen. I can be relatively assured that the sun's going to come up tomorrow because the Earth is going to rotate. I can be
Yeah.
relatively assured that I'm going to be stuck to this Earth because of gravity. 100%, I don't know that.
Would you agree that you are utilizing the law of contradiction and that you are using that to disprove God?
I honestly don't know.
Well, why don't you think the
Those are
laws of
things that,
logic will change tomorrow?
because why would they?
So you're a former Christian and friendly atheist. Nice to meet you. I am a
Thank you.
current
Nice to meet
Christian.
you too.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there any topic to be focused on, or may I ask you a question?
You can feel free to ask away.
Okay, I was just really curious as to what what caused you to give up the Christian faith.
Sure. So again, I'm just going to put this quickly. But I grew up as a young Earth creationist, somebody who believes that Genesis is literal and the Earth is 6,000 years old and evolution is a farce.
Yeah.
When I went to college and I took Biology 101 as just a gen ed, I realized that there was a lot more evidence for evolution than I was ever taught, right, as a kid.
Hmm.
And it was almost too much to be deniable. So that kind of made me think, okay, if I was taught this my entire life, but it's not true, what
Hmm.
else was I taught that wasn't true as well? So I started to kind of go back into religion, into the religion I grew up in, and be like, okay, well, why do we believe in God? Why do we believe the Bible's true? Why do we believe Jesus rose from the dead? Why, why?
Hmm.
And eventually, I just kind of came down to this point where it seems like all our evidence, there's no good evidence in today's world that a God exists or that Jesus exists or that he rose. We're really focused on anecdotal evidence. A book says so. People say so.
Hmm.
People into
Hmm.
2026 will say, I have felt Jesus. Okay, like that's
Yeah.
fine, but that's for me, that's not going to be enough evidence to convince me because every religion would claim they feel their God, right? So
True.
that's one thing that really kind of threw me off too is realizing and this is a goofy thing, man, but I was taught because I asked about what about Muslims,
Hmm.
when I was a kid, and
Hmm.
my parents essentially told me, and this is really sick, honestly,
Hmm.
that they know the religion they're following is wrong and it's by Satan, but they continue to do it anyway. And once
Yeah.
I eventually realized that no, 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 these people are just as dedicated to their beliefs as I was to mine, as my parents are to theirs,
Yeah.
as my pastor is to his.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that kind of threw me too, because not just the amount of denominations that exist in Christianity that are
Hmm.
all slightly different, but then that every other religion that exists out there has adherents that vehemently believe that their religion is true in the same manner you believe your religion is true.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So but the deal is again, they're based on anecdotal evidence, and so is Christianity. It's a book that says so. People that say they felt God, people that claim they had experiences with God, right? It's not like God comes down and does a press conference like every 2 years and goes, hey, by the way, the Methodists are getting it correct this year.
Not
The
exactly, no.
Lutherans aren't, like,
Yeah, yeah.
that would be great, honestly, if that happened. But
So Bob, sorry, your name's not Bob, is it? I just saw Bob on your.
dude, that's what I go by on the live.
I'll
So
just
feel
call you
free to
Bob
call
if
me
that's
that.
okay. Okay.
That is
So
totally
Bob,
fine.
Bob, it sounds like you're ascribing to an evolutionary beginning of the universe, and would you ascribe also to like a materialistic view where the only things that you can see and perceive and touch is real and observe?
Um, See, that's a little weird. Because I don't. Maybe I'd say a naturalist, not a materialist, because
Okay.
I I think that everything that came about naturally. But
Okay.
I'm not sure I would say that the only things that are real are things we can smell, touch, taste, because we can't smell, touch, or taste like black or dark matter, right? But we know it's out there, right? So, and
Okay.
the only reason we know it's out there, we can't even see it. We just see the light bends around certain parts when we point a telescope at a certain
Right.
area, right?
Yeah. So you do believe in
So yeah.
things that exist, but that can't necessarily be touched or seen. So unseen truth, existing things, unseen things that are existing. Is that correct? Is it?
Yeah, to a point. Yeah. I mean, I don't have like a hard belief in many of these things, but it is
Okay.
an idea that's out there, and why wouldn't I at least entertain it?
Yeah. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but the traditional view, according to Darwin, which was, in the Origins of Species, that evolution is unguided and it's random chance mutations. So, do you hold to that view as well?
Um, I think that random mutations happen,
Hmm.
and then those mutations lead to, because of the environmental conditions, those mutations can either be good or bad. And those mutations, while not really like, it's not like there's not a hand up there forcing these mutations. These mutations just happen naturally. Some happen to be
Mm-hmm.
advantageous, some don't, right?
Yep. Yep.
And that's just the way it works. I mean, humans, right? Like, if you're born with darker skin, you can survive out in the sun longer, right? So
Yes.
like,
Yes.
like that makes sense. If you were going to be, if all of a sudden all the world was like Florida or like Africa, right? It was like super hot, super sunny. A lot of people with very low melanin would probably have a hard time with it, right? Um,
Yes.
Whereas people
Yes.
with more melanin would not. And again, that's not saying it's a good or a bad mutation. It's just that the environment changes, or it is the way it is, and it causes those mutations to either die off or live on.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's unguided. And do you ascribe to the idea of natural selection then? That it's just a
Yeah,
natural process and it's unguided.
yeah.
Yeah. So, question for you: how do you harmonize, or how do you bring together when we see mechanical things in our universe, when we observe mechanical things in our universe that seem to follow a pattern and a design? I'm not. Well, let's leave design out of it because you don't believe in intelligent design. But you
Smart
see
man.
things which would imply design just simply by for example, the DNA self repair, or just how animals behave and try to survive, etc. How do you harmonize this with an outlook of evolution which says that everything was totally unguided and random?
I don't see any issue with it, honestly. I mean,
So it's just is the way it is.
I will always say that I'll take harsh reality over pretty fantasy, and harsh reality seems to say that, yeah, it seems to all be natural. And while you may say there's design, I could think of a world that would be much better designed than this one. Um,
Yeah. Oh, that's
just off
interesting.
the top of my head,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. 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 No. No.
So if
No
I
doubt.
could come up with one as a mortal human, I could come up with a better design for even humans than
Mhm.
God did. Then is it really designed?
Well, I guess we do see, for example, humans. We are I'm sure you'd agree that we are a unique species where we
Every
can.
species is unique.
Well, I was going to go on to say that we're unique in the sense that we can intuit and we can create and we can design and we can build.
So do
I'm not going to
beavers.
use this for any evidence just yet, but I'm just saying this to say that we've noticed in our
So do
universe
beavers.
that.
So do ants. I mean, they build too. So do wasps, bees,
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Yes. They do. I agree with
birds.
you. I agree with you. Yep. They certainly do. But would you agree that we at least do it in a unique way? I mean, we don't see ants building
I think
data
we're.
centers,
I
for
think we do
example.
it because we got these opposable thumbs, man. We're able to grasp tools and use
Yeah.
them and stuff, whereas like a
Yeah.
bird
Yeah.
can't do that. So
Hmm. Well,
um,
actually, some
I'm not.
birds,
I'm,
like
I'm
the
not exactly
raven.
sure if that's.
Yeah, I was just going to go and say
But
some birds, like the raven, they can take a tool to make another tool to then use that to acquire food, which now
okay,
they've
ravens are
proven.
cool. Ravens are cool as fuck. Let's be honest. They're
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, no, they're awesome, awesome creatures. When I saw that study, that blew me away. That's crazy. Um, but I guess I'm just trying to get to the heart of how are you harmonizing when we see patterns which have an exact fine tuning to them when your outlook on the universe is that it is random chance and unguided. How do you harmonize those two realities?
Just evolution in action, man. Like it just is what it is. It's like evolution led birds to build nests and ants to dig underground, and humans to make buildings where they can live in and make air conditioning and heat,
Okay.
so they can survive in these places. I don't know. It just seems just I don't. I'm not sure I can 100% explain how it came about.
Sure.
But we can look back in time and say, okay, like humans were doing this way back when, and here's where we are now.
Yep. Okay. And
Not
then.
sure you could say much about other animals though, because it's not like a beaver dam has gotten better over time, right? It's like it's still
Hmm.
just a beaver dam. I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe beaver professionals can tell you that the earliest beaver nests were not as good fashioned as the new ones. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know that for
yeah.
sure.
Well, I guess there is somewhat of a leap in your paradigm there, so to speak. So there is a bit you place a bit of confidence, or you place quote unquote faith, or you place a bit of confidence in this idea that evolution did bring these things about, even though from the beginning it's unguided. There's no intelligent design, and we have things which look very mechanical in nature, as if we were to build our own computer or our own machine or something. We see some resemblance and patterns. But I was going to go on to say about science. How can science, how can science be true on an evolutionary worldview if the outlook in evolution is that everything is random chance mutations, when the universe that we observe is firm and uniform and predictable? How do you harmonize those two?
Well, while physics is predictable, um,
Correct.
life
Yes.
life is not, because life really depends on environmental changes. Again, you could have one. You could have I'm just throwing it out there. Two groups of rodents, right? They're both living in Pompeii, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're living okay. Everyone's living fine together, right? And all of a sudden, the volcano erupts, and this one group of rodents has some certain gene that helps them either maybe be able to take in more ash and not die, or be
Yeah.
buried underneath ash and be able to survive, or be a different color so they're not eaten by things, and then they survive out. Again, there's not really any path or any kind of like rhyme or reason outside of the environmental conditions that are there in place and the mutations that make a change in a certain animal that makes it either, again, advantageous or not advantageous.
Yeah, yeah. I see where you're coming from. I guess, you got creatures that that exercise some sort of free will, and then that affects other people's uh, lives, etc. But I'm speaking more of like the uniformity of nature in the sense of, for example, like say the laws of gravity, of thermodynamics, things which scientists used every day, and they rely on the universe being the way it is consistently, and then therefore they can use past experiments to then infer to the future. And so what I'm getting at is how, on an evolutionary worldview, can you be absolutely certain that the future will be like the past?
I don't think I could ever be absolutely certain like that at all. I mean, things could always change. But I
Mm,
would say that even if this entire world was wiped out by an asteroid, like there may be some life that still is able to survive, right? Even
mm,
though we might not, and maybe all the oxygen breathing mammals are wiped out, right? It was kind of the
mm,
same when the dinosaurs got wiped out, right? Like mammals were able to survive during that time, and that's why
mm.
we are the most dominant species on the planet now.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just weird things that tend to happen, I guess, in the environment that cause these big changes. And it's not like an asteroid is planned to hit, like, the Earth. It's
Mm,
flying around out there in physics. It goes around one planet and whoop right towards us. And like, and physics did that because that's the way gravity works.
yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason why it would happen. It's just two objects colliding with each other.
Well, honestly, I really appreciate your honesty though when you do say that like there can be no certainty because I could never harmonize that. I could never say that on an evolutionary or a naturalist worldview that we have certainty or of that the future will be like the past. Um,
I mean, technically, I could tell you honestly, I am not 100% certain that tomorrow gravity will
mm,
happen, right?
yeah.
Like tomorrow this pen will fall towards the Earth like it does.
Do you?
However,
Yeah.
past experience shows us that every single day that humans have ever woken up, ever in their entire lives, out of the entire history of that we've been writing shit down,
Mm,
shit has never floated up,
yep. Yep.
right? So I can be relatively assured that the sun's going to come up tomorrow because the Earth is going to rotate. I can be
Yep.
relatively assured that I'm going to be stuck to this Earth because of gravity. If those, why am I again? I could say 100%. I don't know that, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm. That's just me being an honest person and you know, not putting all my eggs in one basket. I guess. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. No, no, it's look, it's incredibly honest and noble of you, honestly, because lots of other people would just, skirt around the fact or just make up excuses. But I guess that leads into what I was going to ask you next is I think the last guy was talking about it, about logic, just generally like, the law of non-contradiction and how we know things are true. I have extreme trouble, standing in the evolutionary worldview grounding these things because all we have in the evolutionary naturalist worldview is things happening without any guidance, without any intentional purpose or design, and it's very much a brutal deterministic outlook, and therefore there's really no grounding for truth or morality in that regard, especially for the laws of logic. So, like, how do you, I guess, how from your perspective, how do you outside from your mind determine when you see crime and you say that's absolutely false and evil or wrong, or how do you tell the banker that gets your
I'm
bank
not a
statement
moral
wrong?
objectivist. I'm a
Okay,
moral subjectivist. So I will never
okay,
ever say that what I think my morals are the arbiter of all morals ever.
okay. Off,
Um,
fair enough.
but
Um,
anything that I would offer morally, I would gladly say that is my own subjective opinion on the matter.
Sure, sure. Well, let's just leave morality off to the side for now. But let's could we talk about logic though? Like say for example, the law of non-contradiction or the law of identity. So for example, if I try and convince you, I mean, we're actually utilizing the law of non-contradiction now because you would say that God is not real because I don't perceive him and I don't see him. Would you agree that you are utilizing the law of contradiction and that you are using that to disprove God?
I honestly don't know.
I think I
Because I
would say
honestly
you
don't know
are.
exactly what the law of contradiction is. The law of contradiction is a foundational principle of logic stating that contradictory statements cannot be both true at the same time and not be both true at the same time and in the same sense.
Yeah. So two statements, for example, like
Contradictions cannot be true at the same.
Yeah. So for example,
I
you're
get this is like a
saying,
Frank Turek thing. Like I
yeah,
never tell a lie, or I forget what he says, but yeah, it. Yes, I get what you're saying there.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so I mean, you're utilizing now, saying, well, God can't be true because I can't perceive him, so therefore he's not true. So you're
That's
pointing
that's
the
not exactly it
contradiction.
though. That's not exactly it, though, Musa. Like, it's not that I believe God doesn't exist because I didn't personally see him and because I can't personally hear him.
Hmm.
I would take scientifically observable, demonstrable evidence over personal testimony any day. But we don't have that. So, like, that's kind of the deal. Is like any religion, the best evidence they can ever provide is anecdotal. It's essentially, I had an experience with my God. Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's a personal experience. The book says that God. That's a book that says we did. There's something that happened there where somehow these two arteries got connected, but we don't know how that happened.
Mm.
But the deal is, we would just say we don't know how that happened. We would never say that was Yahweh. People will say it's Yahweh, but we don't know that. And I don't know. It's just like there's just no way to verify that a God exists or does anything on this earth whatsoever. So, like,
What evidence though would you accept for God? Just to see him?
scientifically demonstrable and observable evidence
And what's that? What
would be the
that
best. Well, my thing is, like, with a press conference, if he does that, then everyone in the world could see it happen, right? So it wouldn't just be me
be?
and a personal experience for me. It'd be everybody in the world to be able to tune in and watch God on TV. So, like,
Yeah.
that would be some pretty big. That would be like way more evidence than any God has ever provided whatsoever, ever.
Okay. Okay.
And it would solidify my belief that that is God. If, again, it wasn't just me seeing it, but the rest of the world saw it too.
Okay,
You know?
but don't you affirm though that there are things that exist which you don't see? Because that's what you said earlier.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not denying that they don't exist. Maybe they do. I mean, there's plenty of things that we don't have any evidence for that have certainly been brought out as claims that, you know, things like Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. You know, can we verify that it's false? No. Verify that it's true? No. Do I believe it? No. But I mean, I'm not going to say it absolutely doesn't exist. You know, like,
Yeah.
it could.
But
Like-
we did just look at concepts such as the uniformity of nature and how evolution is from random chance. Yet in nature, we observe firm, concrete patterns of, say, law of thermodynamics, the law of gravity, etc. We see firmness and
Physical laws are different than what evolution is. Like, that's just a fact. Like,
well,
evolution doesn't
never
ever
brought
follow
about
the same
world.
path.
Yeah, but evolution is your beginning, like your origin of life model, right? So, I mean, if we do perceive these things, they came about as of evolution, didn't it?
Well, technically, evolution does not say anything about how life started.
Okay.
It just talks about how life is from A to where we are now. Like, that's it. Like, it doesn't really apply to how life started. It'd be more abiogenesis. And I will say, in all honesty, we don't know how life started. So essentially, every hypothesis is still on the table, and that means that the God hypothesis is still on the table, even in my mind. Because
fair
when there's
enough.
not a conclusion, why would we discount any hypothesis?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Now, eventually, I bet you we're going to find a conclusion. And I would, if I was a betting man, I would bet that it's not going to be God, because again, there's been so many times throughout history where a supernatural claim has been debunked by a natural claim. Can you tell me one time in history where a natural claim was debunked by a supernatural claim?
Well, to be honest, my standpoint is that this is going to sound probably wild to you, but without God, I can't prove anything exists or is real. Because as we were going through, when we discussed science, on an evolutionary worldview, you don't have the uniformity of nature. You don't have the laws of logic.
Yes, you do.
The uniformity of
Yes, you
nature.
do.
You just conceded before that we can't know the future for certain. We can only
Right,
look at
but the laws of
past.
logic exist like now, and they've existed for a long time, and I would not say that tomorrow that's going to be a different thing.
Why is
You know, I'm not going to say physics are changing, because again, just prior probability. Like, these things just haven't changed.
But
So
it's a
like, why would I think they're going
probability,
to
it's
change
not
tomorrow?
certain. But it's a probability, not certain.
Yeah, and again, sure, and again, I'm always going to keep my finger on that button. That it's essentially, we don't know. Maybe tomorrow this pen floats up, maybe. But like, just come on, let's be honest, people here. We don't think it's going to happen, right? Like,
Well,
I
I
don't
know
think
it's
the
not
laws
gonna
of physics are
happen.
going to change tomorrow. I don't think the laws of logic are going to change tomorrow. Like,
Well, why don't
you
you
know,
think the
those are
laws of
things that,
logic will change tomorrow?
because why would they? Again, personally, for me, I
Why
think
wouldn't
logic
they?
is a thing that humans came up with in order to communicate better. It's essentially a way to communicate without making fallacies,
So
right?
are you
So,
saying that the laws of logic were created? It's a social construct, like it's a construct by humans. The laws of logic
to a
or
point,
mathematics.
yes. I think mathematics is a language that we use to describe the universe around us, a language
Yep.
that we created in order
Yep.
for so we could understand how
Yep.
physics work
And so,
or
would you
whatever.
go back then, and when you said that, we created the laws of logic, for example, that you would say no, the laws of logic are a description of our reality. They pertain to reality. They're just real things which we've
I don't
described
know.
in
For me, like
language.
the laws of logic to me are just kind of that's kind of wishy washy. Like again, physics is something we can test like all the time. Can we really like test logic? Like we can
Absolutely.
say okay, P1, P2, and like conclusion, and if they if they don't contradict each other, whatever, it works.
But
Fine.
even
Um,
science relies on the laws of logic. Even you're using laws of logic now, because if I tell you now, believe me, God is real, you're going to say, no, buddy. You're contradicting yourself. You're telling me to believe in God. You haven't proved it to me. So you're even using the laws of logic right now. I mean, every day you're using the laws of logic. I mean, you've got to have a standard
yeah.
of truth to
Again,
judge by.
but that's kind of my thing. Is that, like again, like logic can be demonstrated. It's something that humans and animals do. Like again, when I was talking to the other guy, when you see a squirrel and the squirrel, you have a poison apple out there, and you have an apple without any poison in it. Like
Mm.
that squirrel is going to make the decision which one to eat, right? And he may smell this one, and go, he's doing logic in his brain. That doesn't smell quite right. I'm not going to eat that one,
Does
or
logic
whatever,
exist
right?
outside
Like,
of his brain, though?
see, I don't really know. I think if there were no brains, then would logic really exist? Like,
Yeah, that's a good question. What do you think?
I'm not sure, honestly. I don't.
Because that goes
Off the
back
top of my head,
to
I would
when you
say I don't think
said.
so.
Because that goes back
I
to
think
when
it's
you
kind of a
said.
human thing.
Yeah, that goes back to what you said about, well, we've done all these scientific experiments in the past, and therefore the probability is high, and therefore we can infer that it's going to happen in the future. It's high probability. But if logic is not inherent in the universe, and it's only restricted to the mind, then we have a problem there.
See, I think
Yeah.
there's two different kind of ways to describe it. Like one's just like the layman's term, right? Like
Mm.
somebody
Yeah.
says that's like we're talking about a problem,
Yep.
and you give a solution to the problem. Somebody says that's logical.
Yep.
Now there might be somebody else that sits there beside him and says that's not logical to me.
Mm.
Now, in that kind of layman's terms, that I feel like is very subjective, and it's kind of like logic really is based on your opinion, right? But the laws of logic are something different. But I feel like that's just a way that we use as humans to communicate better. So again, so we don't do fallacies, right?
Yeah.
Like somebody
Yeah.
who's well versed in logic isn't going to go up to a debate stage and commit fallacies
Yep. Well,
unless
Bob,
they're doing it
thank you.
intentionally.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Bob, thank you so much for the conversation. I actually ran out of time. I've got to go and meet someone now, but I've followed you, and hopefully I can join you next time on your stream.
All right, Masa. Well, I'll be back on in a couple of days. I'm going back home to see some family for the next couple of days, but I'll be back on after that. But it's been nice talking to you too, man.
Thank you very much, man. You take care, and God bless.
All right, have a good time, buddy.
You too.
Don't drink too much.